Everybody, this is Jordan here, and this will be part 3 of our Schooling Saturday series teaching you how to hex. Now this video is going to be all about how to do lines and what each of the numbers do. So this is assuming you watched the first 2 videos where you learned the basics of hexing and the last video which covered how to work add balls, because without add balls lines are completely useless. Okay, so I started with a baby here, where you can see I already placed the balls where I want them to go, and they're all different colors so you can see them easily against her head, and they're going to go in a zigzag pattern to kind of make it look like you're making a strand, which normally you can make it look more smooth, but this can work too, and it's easy for this example. So okay, close out of that. Here I have the add balls listed, and I already labeled them. Make sure you label them because this is going to be important to make sure you don't mess up the lines, because if you have one too many, like if you miscount, certain clothing items won't work, or it'll crash and the baby won't work right. Or you'll connect to a completely different ball, which can look funny, but it's not good for practical hair hexing purposes. So okay, each one starts with 138, which I think Lacey covered in her last video. So we're going to start here. Since this is your first ball, this is the one that's at the top of the head, the biggest one. So we're going to scroll down until you can see the section that says lines. And you're going to scroll down to the bottom of it. And it's easy. I always just copy the last one in the list. Normally I actually hex in the Babyz res.dll file, but I think most people hex this way, so I'm going to do it this way. So okay, this first number here is the starting ball, which is going to be the first ball that it's going to try to connect the line, because the line is going to connect 2 of your add balls together, which is this number and this number. These are all lines that already exist in the baby for attaching its arms and hands and legs together. So since your first ball is going to be 138, you're going to make that start with 138, and you're automatically going to connect it to 139 because that's the next number in the list. So, okay, so that's the first part that you want to start with. Ignore these numbers for now. I'll explain what those do in a minute. Except this one, which you want to make -1, because this is going to be the outline of the line. And if you don't want the lines, it can be okay for an effect, but generally you're going to want to make that negative so the black part around the line is not going to interfere with the other ones. So now you're going to copy it. Just copy this one to make the second one, which you're going to want to make 139 to 140. You always want to make sure that this number, these 2 numbers are the same. So 139 and 139, because this is going to make it continuous. So, for example, if you have it like this, you want to make sure that it goes from 138 to 139, 139 to 140. Okay? So, you have that, yep. And then you're going to just copy this again. Do the exact same thing, 140 to 141. Copy it again. 141 to 142. Then 142 to 143. I can't remember how many add balls this one had. So let me scroll back up. Yeah, it ends with 143. You don't want to go past 143 because then if you put on a clothing item, it's going to count that ball and it'll make a line that's going to try to attach to it, and it doesn't work well. So yeah, yep, that's good. Just double count or double check by going like 138, 139, 39, 40, 40, 41, 41, 42, 42, 43. And you're going to save, which you should copy this over to the child section if you're actually planning on playing with the baby, because sometimes it can corrupt it. The game can be picky, but here, let's see how that looks. See, all of the balls are now attached into a lovely little strand. And it's multicolored, not because of the lines, but because I made the balls those colors, because the line's going to change to whatever the first ball is colored. So since the first one was purple, the whole line's going to be purple, pink, yellow, green. So that's how people do ombre, or yeah, I think it's ombre hair And that's how you would do it, like that, except with textures. Okay, so I'm going to show you what the other numbers mean now. This first number after the starting and ending ball is your fuzz. So this is how fuzzy the line is going to be. You're going to pretty much want that to be -1, unless you want to go for an interesting effect, which I'll show you what that will look like. Save it. Yeah, it's not very pretty. It looks kind of weird, but it can make for cool hairstyles if you want to go in that direction. But for the most part, you're probably going to keep that as a -1. Okay, so I'm going to change that back so you can actually see the rest of what I'm going to show you. This next number, I believe, is the left line color. That's really not going to be used either, but I'll show you what it does. It's not very noticeable, and it's not really worth it to change. If it's -1, that's going to just keep it the color that it would be normally. It's not going to try to add color. This color is green, so you should see that. It's not super noticeable, though, and I don't think anybody really uses it. I can't really think of a practical purpose. Or that's actually just line color. I think I lied. Yeah, that's line color, I'm sorry. See, now it's just going to be all green, and I don't really know why, because then you can't texture it if it's like this, I don't think. So just leave that -1, because then that will keep it how it was before. So I'm going to change that. Now this is left line color. So that's just, this row is the line color, this is left line color, which I'll show you what this one does too. Yeah, it's not very noticeable, if at all, really. Yeah, actually, is that because I changed it to -1? Wait, give me 1 sec. Yeah, now you can see it. That's because I had made it negative before, but can you see this little green outline you can see here? I don't really know why you would need that, but it only changes this left side of the Babyz line. So it's not really practical, but if you want to change the other side of it for whatever reason, that would be this next number here, which I'm going to make pink so it's slightly different. I'll leave the other one green for now. You can kind of see it right there. That's pink now, so that changes that side of it. Don't cry. Are you hungry? I'm not sure. But yeah. So, okay, so that does that. And this is, I forget what it's called, but it changes the, how this one starts with 138. This number changes the size of the line, how it starts. Like right now it's 100, which this is a percentage of the actual size of the first ball. So like if I change this to 300, the line is going to try to start 300 times the size of ball 138. So that's just going to look like this. Like it looks really funny, kind of makes a, I don't know what shape that would be, but because it's trying to, it looks like it's trying to start off bigger, but it can give some really cool effects if you want to try that. I don't really know why you would, but it could have its purposes trying to, if you did it for each one. And the smaller the ball is, the bigger you're going to have to make this number because it's taking it as a percentage. Now, this column is the opposite. It takes this ball and will change the size. So since this is the starting ball and this is the ending ball, this row will take a percentage of the ending ball and you can increase it or decrease it. So if I want to make this one like 900, because this ball 143 is only size 10, so this will be 900 times that size. So it should be noticeable. Not by much, honestly, but makes it a lot bigger here on the end, which kind of gives it a squared off look, or just like a triangle. So yeah, that's what that number does. You can do that for any of these to kind of create a different effect. Just for fun, I'm going to try that. Yeah, not pretty at all, but you could make different shapes that way. So okay, going to stop that. I'm gonna put these all back to 100. So it's probably better not to mess with these, but you can do some stuff with it. This number doesn't really do much, so I would just ignore it. You can change it, but it doesn't really seem to do anything. Yeah, not really. So yeah, there's really no point to that. So if you want, I'm going to change this all back to how it was. So these are all negative ones. Okay, so pretty much the only numbers you need for this are the starting two of each, and then this one is best when you make it -1. I'm going to change these back to 0, 2. Okay, so this is the best way to do it, and if you want it to be the texture of the hair, you're going to scroll back up to add balls, and then you're going to change, I believe it's that number, 2, 3. And there you go. That's how you can make a strand of hair for your baby. And obviously you would just repeat this process once you place the balls again. And you just do that over and over again. I'm going to show you real quick what happens if you miscount. Oh, did I miss it? There we go. Ball 144 doesn't exist on this baby. And you won't notice anything. Oh, actually, you could see it. It's trying to connect to something else. Yeah, that's how you can tell you miscounted your lines. So, actually it's not interacting with the clothes. I've had it do that before. But yeah, you don't want to do that. And if you notice it start doing stuff like this, then you know you have miscounted somewhere in your list, and just start back from the beginning. And then I'm going to delete this. If you go back up here and you want to make an identical one on the other side, you're just going to recount. So this would be 44. You would change this number to positive. You would just copy this and recount. Since you're starting at 44 for this one, you don't want to obviously make this one the same number as that like you did up here, because then that would connect the two areas together and you don't want them to be connected. So you can see 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, and then ends with 149. You're going to save it. Let's hope I didn't mess up. Yep, and there you go. Now you can have double strands. And that's a quick, easy way. If you make one side, you can just copy it over and put it on the other side. So yeah, that's pretty much the basic of lines. It's not that complicated, although it's easy to mess up when you're first learning how to do it if you miscount. I've had to go back tons of times to try to figure out where I made a mistake. So it's best to work in segments like I did, do one part at a time, and that way you don't have to recount everything, because if you make one mistake, you have to recount all of them, and that's no fun. So okay, that's it for this lesson. I don't know which the next lesson will be. I don't know what area would cover next, probably just more in depth of the baby hexing process, maybe freckles or something like that. So, okay. Thank you for watching. Bye.